Dutch clover is extremely beneficial for your yard in many different ways. Environmentally, you don't have to mow it very much. Only a few times a year, maybe one time a month at the most. Extremely beneficial for your soil because it builds a lot of nitrogen, like all legumes. Also, Dutch clover is an incredibly good nectar source for honeybees in the summer months. It produces a lot of nectar, which then helps the bees produce a lot of honey. So if you want a natural yard, low maintenance, beneficial to pollinators, especially bumblebees and honeybees, Dutch clover is really the key. So in the fall, in most of North America, we have a few different very important nectar sources. Here we have the goldenrod. The flat top is the one that produces the most amount of nectar. And they also produce a large amount of pollen, which the bees utilize and store this time of the year for startup in the spring. In order for the plant to produce honey, it needs certain environmental conditions. If it's too cool, it won't secrete nectar. And if it's too hot, it doesn't secrete nectar. So when beekeepers are collecting goldenrod honey, we typically like to say we want warm days, meaning in the 70s, and cool nights, even as low as into the 40s. Warm days allows the bees to get out, do their job, and it also helps the plant to bring up the nectar into the flowers. The cool nights allows the plant really to build its sugar contents in its resources. In the north, the bees are overwintering in a big cluster. That ball doesn't have resources when it starts to rear young, so they have to use the stored pollen from the fall. So the fall aster, there's a couple different kinds. There's this white one, and then there's a purple one. And this is actually the very last nectar the bees will collect in the season. It likes cooler temperatures to really produce good nectar. Something unique about this is that you have the aster and the goldenrod blooming almost at the same time. The nectar from the aster crystallizes very quickly. So all pure honey will crystallize over time. It's very dependent on the sugars in the honey, the natural sugars, just not sugar. It's primarily the fructose and glucose combination. Also, it depends on the variety of the flower. So some flowers nectar will crystallize very quickly, and others will take a very long time. But aster honey crystallizes very quickly. And a lot of times it will crystallize even in the honeycomb. Different types of honey crystallize differently. Some make very large crystals in the honey. Others make very fine crystals. It all depends on the nectar and the makeup of the sugars. All pure honey will crystallize over time. This is natural. It means that the honey is pure honey. So when you have a jar full of crystallized honey, it generally starts from the bottom of the jar and then goes up. But all you have to do is put that in warm water and it will come back to a liquid. All honey comes out of the beehive as a liquid. It does not come out solid. It does not come out in a cream form. The most natural state of honey is a liquid. That's what the bees utilize. When it crystallizes, even in the beehive, the bees need to use a lot of energy to turn it back into a liquid. These are the seed pods of the milkweed. So every one of these is a seed. And what will happen is those seed pods will open when they get dry, and then these things will fly through the air and find a new home. The milkweed plant will give off a sap. And the sap is kind of poisonous, not really to people, it's not going to hurt you, but it'll be milky white and sticky. You can see the dried up leaves on this one. So the monarch butterfly, the larvae, eat the leaves, they pupate, and then move on to their next cycle. The sap from the milkweed is what makes the caterpillar or the larva toxic. So birds are not really attracted to eating the monarch butterfly because they're poisonous and they don't make the bird feel too good. Now there is a mimic that is orange and black just like the monarch, but it is not poisonous. But the birds don't know the difference. So it's like a decoy, and the non-poisonous butterfly is using the image of the poisonous one so it doesn't get eaten by the birds.
Yeah. Is it very sporty? Yeah. Like I look like a well-groomed guy on GQ? Okay. One of the reasons we do this is to demonstrate that honeybees are gentle when you understand their biology. You can work with them. What a bee beard really is essentially an artificial swarm. These bees know what the queen smells like. She's up under my chin. They're gonna march right up onto my neck and form a bee beard. We're in there. Not bad for the hottest day and the longest day of the year, right?
Yeah.
Is it still a neck beard? Oh well.
You're getting a soul patch now. They're going over here.
It's nice and tight, you know.
Yeah.
Is it very sporty?
Yeah.
Like I look like a well-groomed guy on GQ? Okay.
If you had some spray paint, you'd be Santa Claus.
Definitely Amish style.
Yes, for sure.
You can't enter the bees without smoke. Bees communicate through pheromones, and there's an odor called the alarm pheromone. It's just like your car alarm or your house alarm, so the smoke actually covers up that smell, and they also sense the smoke and say, hey, there's a fire, let's eat some honey, and prepare to leave. They would take resources with them. Okay. How you doing? Good morning. This is a queen cell. Actually, I see her tongue coming out right at this moment. We're going to help her out here, so you'll get to see the queen emerge. This is a new baby queen. There can only be one queen per hive, and she's not mated yet, so she cannot lay eggs. What she'll do is run around the beehive and kill all the other queen cells and eliminate her competition. So bumblebees do a type of pollination on some flowers, like blueberries, called buzz pollination. So they sit on the flower and they go brrrr, and that shakes the flower. Honeybees don't do that. So bumblebees on certain flowers are more efficient, where honeybees have to visit that same flower multiple times to get the job done. Bumblebees will stay closer to home. Honeybees like to fly. They like to get out of town. She has all the pollen packed on her legs, so she collects that and actually puts it in what's called a pollen basket, and that's what pollinates flower to flower. And then she takes that back, and that's used as a food source for the babies. But a honeybee colony will have 50,000 residents, and bumblebees may have 50 to 100. So it's a volume thing. Bumblebees can't actually generate their own heat. So they typically, when they nest, they'll find like an old mouse nest or a squirrel nest that has a lot of insulation, and then they'll build their nest in that location. Where honeybees, they can generate heat. Bumblebees overwinter as one, the queen only, and she comes out and forms a new nest in the spring, just like wasps and hornets, yellow jackets, all those other stinging insects. Honeybees visit one type of flower at a time. Here at this lavender farm, the bees are able to concentrate on one particular flower. The flower actually develops an electrical charge. And when the bee visits it, it neutralizes that. And then the next bee that comes to that flower knows that it was recently visited and it doesn't have any reward. So that's why you can see some bees go to a flower and they just move right on to the next one, because there is no positive electrical charge. Honeybees collect nectar and pollen from flowers. Pollen is used by plants to fertilize flowers to produce food, such as seed or nuts or fruits. The bee actually collects more pollen than the flowers require, so they're able to take that back and use it as a carbohydrate food source for their young. They also collect the nectar, which they break down and turn into honey. Lavender is a type of herb, and most herbs honeybees particularly enjoy. They're very fruitful. We use them in cooking, in oils, in soap, all kinds of things. So the homeowner can plant some herb plants and utilize them in their cooking, as well as benefit local pollinators.
So I can kind of tell by the weight that those top two boxes were really good, pretty much full. And then here you can see some uncapped honey and some capped honey. Right here is the capped honey, where the bees actually put a beeswax capping over the face of the honey. These other cells are not quite ready yet. There's honey in them, but it's not quite capped yet. Once it gets to the right moisture, they put the wax capping over it so it doesn't pull moisture out of the air. They'll ventilate it with their wings. And sometimes when, like we've had a lot of humidity this summer, sometimes it's tough to get it all capped off good. So what I can do is, here's the cap, so you can see the color of it. It's a little dark. They'll pack honey in every level, as long as there's plenty to have. So what happens sometimes when we add extra supers, we go down to the queen excluder and we put the empty down here. So this was the last one added. This one's only about half full. Okay, this one's pretty well completely full, and that one is too. Then if you get into a time period where there's not much coming in the environment, they'll eat back some of it. But they're typically going to eat back whatever's closest to where they're raising their babies, which is down here. So these top boxes generally stay full for a longer period of time.
So what we're going to do today is we're going to combine a queen right hive with a non-queen right hive. We had this observation hive that was around all summer, and this colony went queenless. So the observation hive really cannot live in that for the course of the winter. And meanwhile, this other colony that still has some bees in it won't survive the winter because it doesn't have a queen. First we're going to do is go in and make some space. As a rule of thumb, honeybees are very docile, but we still recommend beekeepers work with veils. It's a comfort thing. You need to find your own comfort. Okay. So we're going to open this observation hive up. Okay. So this one is the queen right. So we're just going to go in and start to transfer. So if you get stung by a honeybee, you want to scratch the stinger out. You do not want to pull it out. And there's the queen. Now, I'm going to just take these bees and we're going to shake them out here. They're not too happy because we really disturbed them. We got one more frame in this observation hive. Yeah, this is really full. Really stuck in there. There we go. Just gonna move this stuff around a little bit. All right, now we'll just close it back up. We'll clean up, and we're done. The bee in the summer lives 4 to 6 weeks. The bees that go through the winter live 4 to 6 months. The bees this time of the year start to store fat bodies. Fat bodies is what takes the bee through the course of the winter. Most things in nature get fatter in the winter because they need the resources. So when it gets cold, the bees will form a big ball in the beehive, typically starting down at the bottom, and then they move very slowly up into the beehive for the winter, eating the honey that they stored. That ball of bees stays about 60 degrees all winter long. The cold ones on the outside migrate in slowly, and they just a constant slow process.